Today we're going to talk about leads. The lead, also spelled lead, is the first paragraph of the story. It is typically one sentence around 35 words, and it is written differently for news stories and feature stories. News stories take a hard lead, feature stories take a soft lead. Hard leads, aka summary leads, are used for news stories. They are typically around 35 words and only one sentence. Their point is to immediately tell the reader what has happened and sometimes what will be happening. Here are some examples. Los Angeles fire officials are investigating nearly a dozen small fires that were deliberately set early Saturday in dumpsters and trash cans in Hollywood, authorities said. And here's another one. A man wielding a pellet gun was shot Saturday afternoon by Santa Barbara County Sheriff's deputies after he shot 4 people, including 2 sheriff's deputies, authorities said. Soft leads, aka delayed leads, are used for feature stories. They can be very short or very long, spanning more than one paragraph. Their point is to intrigue the reader to want to read more. Often, a soft lead will describe a scene or describe a person doing a specific action. It's a way of setting up the story and giving it a certain feel or flavor. Some feature stories can be lighthearted, and others can address very serious subjects. It all depends on what's appropriate for the story topic. Here's an example of a feature story about 2 identical sisters turning 100. Naturally, it's a feel-good story. Don't let anyone tell you that the media only covers doom and gloom. Here's the headline. We call them headlines in journalism, not titles. Identical twin sisters to celebrate 100th birthday by Bob Poole, Los Angeles Times. For nearly a century, the 2 lookalikes have been confusing people. Quote, teachers told mother to put a different color hair ribbons on us so they could tell us apart, unquote. Inez Harry said, quote, we'd switch them on our way to school, unquote, said her sister, Venice Shaw. On Sunday, there are likely to be more double takes when some 150 friends and family members gather in San Fernando to celebrate the identical twins' 100th birthday. Quote, I don't feel a century old, unquote, Harry said. Quote, I probably don't feel any older than my 80s, unquote. Shaw nodded in agreement. Quote, we eat good food, unquote, she explained. Now, here's a feature story about a very serious topic, mental illness among college-age students. Notice the tone of the writing and how quickly the writer lets you know what the story is about. I will begin reading it, and then you can read the rest on your own. Here's the headline. San Diego State hosts school shooting survival training by Tony Perry, Los Angeles Times. The gunman stalked the dormitory halls, yelling, I'm going to kill somebody, pounding and knocking on doors and firing his weapon in the air. The resident assistants remembered their training. Turn off the lights, barricade the doors with chairs and tables, lie flat on the floor, push back if the killer tries to burst in, or jump out of a window if it isn't too high. The drama was all staged, but with a life-saving purpose Tuesday, as a dormitory at San Diego State became a stand-in for Columbine High School, Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook Elementary, and engineering building on the campus here, all scenes of deadly rampages. Then the story continues on to talk about the training, what they did, who led the event. You can pause it here and read this slide on your own. Did you notice the difference? I'm sure it wasn't hard for you to see how these story tops were different. Deciding how to write a story depends on the nature of the story. It's kind of like deciding what clothes to wear. It depends on the setting. An outfit you'd wear to a job interview is quite different, at least it should be, than an outfit you'd wear to Disneyland. Both outfits are clothes, but they're chosen for different reasons, depending on the setting. Same thing with leads. Certain stories demand a hard news lead. Other stories are more appropriate with a feature lead, which can be more serious or whimsical depending on the nature of the story. There are 3 categories of news leads, depending on the audience and the circumstances of the story: delayed identification lead, updated lead, and impact lead. A delayed ID lead means that the person's name isn't included in the lead, the first sentence of the story. Instead, you will refer to them in some other way, usually by their title only. Use a delayed ID lead when the person isn't well known to your audience. For example, a local activist who has decided to run for mayor in a small town would probably have his name in the lead. John Smith has decided to run for mayor. But if he wasn't well known, the lead would be something like this: a local activist has decided to run for mayor. Then you would mention his name right away in the second paragraph. So now we will look at some examples and try to figure out which category they fall into. What type of lead is this? Delayed ID, updated, or impact? I'll let you pause the video now and read it on your own. The answer is delayed ID lead. Why? Because their names weren't included in the lead. They were referred to as 2 women in the lead, then their names were included in the second and third paragraphs. Now here's another one. What type of lead is this? Delayed ID, updated, or impact? Again, I'll let you pause the video now and read it on your own. The answer is impact lead. Why? Because it jumps right into the story by talking about the impact this story will have on passengers. And one last lead. What type of lead is this? Delayed ID, updated, or impact? The answer is updated lead. Why? Because it's a story updating a story from more than 2 weeks ago. You could also say it's a delayed ID lead because the suspects' names weren't included in the lead. In summary, choose the lead for your story depending first on whether it's a news story or a feature story. If it's a feature story, think about what tone is appropriate for the story: serious, whimsical, etc. Use a delayed ID lead, an impact lead, or an update lead in the news story, depending on the story and your readership. Thank you for listening to our e-lecture. If you have any questions, please email me and I will get back to you. Thank you.